5 years ago, I partnered with Justin Shank to create a webinar series on using influencers to market casinos. Back then, the casino marketers I talked to were mostly asking one question about slot influencer marketing. Should we try this? 5 years later, that question has moved, and the ones worth asking now are sharper. How do we do this well for the kind of property we actually are? How do we measure it in a way that holds up internally? How do we get started without a big budget? Welcome to Drive Time Marketing. Hi there, and welcome back to Drive Time Marketing, the show where we help casino marketers turn strategy into action and insights into impact. I'm Julia Carcamo. And today we're talking about what slot influencer marketing looks like for a regional casino in 2026. Most conversations about slot influencer marketing get the framing wrong from the start. They treat it as a destination marketing strategy that regional properties have to scale down, as if a regional operator is doing a smaller, scrappier version of what Las Vegas is already doing well. That's not what's happening. National slot creators already have followers in our markets. Your regulars are watching their videos, so the question isn't whether this content reaches your audience, it already does. The question is whether your property shows up in that content in a way that supports what you're building. And regional operators have a real advantage here. Not a consolation prize one, the community context that makes a visit feel like an event. The loyal regulars are already creating their own content. The operational closeness that lets you actually execute a creator visit well instead of drowning it in process. Tashina Williams, who has run these activations at Potawatomi Casino Hotel, put it really plainly to me. She said many people view this line of work as just social, but that generalization misses the reality of the modern guest journey. Social media is the heartbeat of a successful omni-channel marketing strategy. It serves as a bridge that converts digital interest into physical foot traffic. That's the right framing. Not social as a side project, not influencer as a novelty. Social is the connective tissue between online interest and the people walking through your doors. So what's changed since we first looked at this? Well, the bones of what we laid out in 2021 still hold. Start with your own property. Start local. Start smaller. Authenticity always matters. Those principles haven't moved. Pretty much everything else has. Now, Justin framed the category in a way that really resonated with me when we first talked it through. The thing to remember, he reminded me, is that we've always had influencers among us. We just used to call them tastemakers. As a former publicist, he recalled using them for movie projects long before influencer was a word anyone said out loud. It was somebody to whom you could send a product and they would talk about it. Maybe they were a media personality or some other celebrity. Influencers started to really come up in the mainstream with the widespread adoption of YouTube. That definition is still a clean on-ramp for a skeptical operator, but the category it describes has changed dramatically over the past 5 years. The slot creator ecosystem has matured. Short-form vertical video, TikTok, Reels, Shorts, is no longer an incongruent add-on. It's a real part of how slot content travels now. Live streaming on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick has turned slot play into a spectator category with its own conventions and audience expectations. Rate cards and agency representation have standardized for some creators. Others still operate like sole proprietors. The spectrum is wider than it used to be. And the relationship between operators and creators has matured too. Tashina describes the shift better than I could. She said the biggest change in her approach compared to when she began is how she prioritizes long-term partnerships. When she started, she approached these activations much like booking entertainment, as a one-and-done transaction. She thought she would pay them once, see them once, and hope they had a good time. But since then, she learned that creators and their teams value a mutually beneficial business relationship. They're professional, they're fun, and sustainable. From transactional booking to ongoing partnership, that's the single biggest operational change in this work since 2021. Plan for the relationship, not for the shoot. After the break, we're going to talk about getting started if you haven't already. This summer, Casino Marketing Bootcamp is bringing you 2 different ways to get stronger. First, there's Casino Marketing Bootcamp Midwest, happening August 4th, 5th, and 6th in Tulsa. This is where we really put the bootcamp into Casino Marketing Bootcamp. It's hands-on, practical, and built for casino marketers who need time to step back, think clearly, and build stronger marketing plans and calendars. The tagline says it best. It's where your ideas become your blueprint for success. Then later in the month, on August 24th and 25th, we're launching the new Casino Marketing Bootcamp, Direct Marketing. I'm especially excited about this one because direct marketing is still one of the most powerful engines we have as casino marketers. This event is all about helping you make every list, every offer, and every dollar work harder. So whether your team needs to build a plan or improve one of the most important performance engines in your department, there's a Casino Marketing Bootcamp for you this summer. And like all of our events, both include early bird pricing and discounts for groups of 3 or more. You can learn more and register at casinomarketingbootcamp.com. Welcome back. The first move is still the first move. Search your own property on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram in that order. You'll almost certainly find something. Your regulars are already making videos, so are creators who've passed through without you knowing it. That was true in 2021, and it's more true now. What's changed is what you do with the content when you find it. The 2021 instinct was to decide whether to welcome it. The 2026 reality is that the content exists whether you welcome it or not. The only real question is whether your property is ready to participate constructively in a category that's already showing up in your market. When Flip the Switch's Courtney Carr was running Social for Golden Nugget in Las Vegas, in the earlier days of the category, her team did a version of this assessment and made the call to update the filming policy. She said, "We wanted to be welcoming to influencers, so we looked at our filming policy. We realized we had way more to gain than we did to lose by updating the policy to meet the current trends and what was going on in pop culture." More to gain than to lose. That's still the framing. The specific policy question has moved on. Most properties have worked through the filming on the floor conversation by now, but the strategic posture is the same. But what if you're not ready for external creators yet? Well, not every property is ready to bring in an outside creator, and there's nothing wrong with saying so. Budget, operational readiness, leadership comfort, all legitimate reasons to take the in-house path first. And that's the path Casey Strank has been building at Three Rivers Casino Resort. What struck me in talking with her is how quickly she framed the skill set. She said, "One thing I didn't fully expect going into making video content is how much of it is about relationships and timing, not just the creative side. I thought it would mostly be about shooting and editing, but a big part of it has been building connections with people at events and promotions and learning how to capture the right moments as they're happening." That's a deeper observation than it looks. The work of making compelling video content for a regional casino isn't primarily a technical skill, it's a present skill. Being in the right place at the right moment to catch what's already happening. Knowing your team well enough that they're comfortable being in the frame, understanding which promotions actually produce the moments people want to share. If you're earlier in that journey, start there. You don't need an outside creator to learn the lessons Casey is describing. You need someone on your team with permission to spend time on the floor, at events, and in the room when things are happening. When we first had this discussion, we warned against chasing national names, and that warning still holds, and for the same reason. The micro or regional creator who genuinely fits your brand is going to outperform a national name who doesn't. What's changed is that the category now has enough creators, so finding a fit is more achievable than it used to be. You're not scanning a short list hoping someone matches. You're narrowing from a wider field based on criteria that actually matters for your property. The most important of these criteria, and the one regional operators should lead with, is values alignment. And Tashina, speaking from a tribal property, put it really clearly. I would tell them to focus on creating relationships with aligned creators. As a tribal property, our values and standards we uphold are often more rigid than those of a commercial gaming property, and it's important that the people we exchange value with and put our brand next to aligns with us. For example, I'm not bringing in anyone who openly disparages other creators or properties. That last sentence is the kind of disqualifier more operators should be comfortable naming out loud. You're putting your brand next to a creator's, and what they say about other properties, how they treat other creators, whether they've been in public disputes, none of that is neutral. It's part of what you're buying. Now, one line from the 2021 post is worth preserving exactly as it was. You cannot get more authentic than someone who chooses to spend their dollars at your property. That's still the clearest answer to the authenticity question. And the line between influencer and enthusiastic regular who makes videos has only blurred further since 2021. If you're looking for someone who legitimately understands your property, your audience, and your community, start with the people who already show up. Some of them are already making content. Now, we didn't discuss compliance and legal last time, and I've included that in this new updated version of our post. I'll include a link in the show notes to that, and also in managing the visit and the event. But let's turn our attention to how to know if it's working. Every marketer running this kind of program eventually has to answer the same question. Is it worth it? There are trackable signals: engagement on the creator's content mentioning your property, traffic to your website from the creator's channels during and after the visit, sign-ups and bookings tied to an activation-specific offer code, sell-through on events, merchandise attached if you're selling branded items, and repurposable content you can use in your own marketing for months afterwards. All those belong on the report for leadership. A well-run program will produce real numbers on most of them, but some of what you're missing won't show up cleanly on a dashboard. And that's a case a marketing director or VP needs to be able to make internally. Some of the proof is in the numbers, some of it is in the room on the night. Build your measurement approach to capture both. Now, if we've convinced you that slot influencer marketing is worth taking seriously for your property, and I hope it has, here's what to actually do this week. Search your property name on YouTube and TikTok today. You'll find something. Pay attention to the kinds of content already being made, by whom, and how your regulars are responding. Pick one creator whose audience aligns closely with your market and then start watching them. Don't reach out yet. Understand their voice, their audience, and how they handle other properties. Note what you'd want to replicate and what you'd want to do differently. Then decide whether you're ready to reach out or whether you need a partner to help you think through it. Neither answer is wrong. What's wrong is letting the category continue to happen around you without deciding to participate. And if any of this feels like higher stakes than it needs to be, listen to Carr one more time. Influencer marketing, if planned correctly, is relatively low risk compared to costs. You can always start out with a small, more localized influencer before inviting someone with a much larger audience. And similarly, if you're worried about live content, you can start out with just recorded content. You can start smaller than you think. And Casey's reminder applies in both external and internal versions of this work. She'd say, just to start. Don't overthink it or wait for everything to be perfect. Start with what's already going on day to day. Consistency is going to matter more than being super polished. I mean, when she started, she had an old cell phone, no fancy setup, nothing. Just a girl in her Galaxy Android, creating content that people were loving. It really is that simple. Just capture real moments with real people and real emotions. That may be the best advice of anyone that I interviewed for this. The hardest step is the first one. The rest gets easier with practice. Now, if you want to go deeper on the topic, the Winning Influencer Marketing webinar series, the original conversations with Justin and Courtney that informed the original post is still available. Much of it remains relevant, particularly the foundational material on policy, authenticity, and getting started. Thanks for joining me on this week's edition of Drive Time Marketing.